I have created this video to go over the DBQ writing process. As I mentioned in class, we have been taking this process in steps. The first step was for you to read the documents and to answer the questions below. So here were the documents, and then you answered the questions about the documents. Now, the questions that are here in this PDF, I put in this Google document. So I asked you to answer these questions, and this DBQ is about causes of the fall of Rome, and so each of these documents outlined different causes for the fall of Rome. Our next step was working on the outline. So the first thing we worked on was the thesis. Now, a reminder that the thesis is one sentence that directly answers the document-based question. So this specific DBQ is about causes of the fall of Rome. Therefore, your thesis should outline causes for the fall of Rome. Now, because this is a 5-paragraph essay, you are going to discuss 3 causes for the fall of Rome that are specifically mentioned in the documents. The thesis could be something like 3 reasons for the fall of Rome, and then you could list the 3 reasons. Next, we worked on the outline. So let me just talk you through this outline. First, we have the introduction. So the introduction is going to provide an overview of Rome. For example, you could talk about the type of government in Rome and life in Rome. And then you could end by talking about how it started to fall. And then your thesis will be the last sentence at the end of your introduction. Okay? So at this time, you don't have to write the introduction as part of your outline. You can just put your thesis right here. Next, the 3 body paragraphs. These are going to be where you discuss the causes of the fall of Rome. So in paragraph 1, you're going to discuss the first cause that you mentioned in your thesis. Paragraph 2 will mention the second, and paragraph 3 will mention the third. So let me go ahead and give you a demonstration. So back to my thesis, 3 reasons for the fall of Rome are Christianity, economic problems, and an empire that grew too large. Now, what I want you to notice is that the body paragraphs will go in the order of your thesis. So, when we're looking at our topic sentence for paragraph 1, it's going to discuss Christianity. So if I write my topic sentence, it could just be something simple like Christianity was a cause of the fall of the Roman Empire. Next, what you're going to do is discuss which documents that you're going to use. So you're going to find the documents that talk about your cause. In my case, it's Christianity. So I'm going to go back to my documents. And if we look at document 2, it does talk about Christianity. So Christianity had an influence on the decline and fall. The clergy preached the doctrine of patience. The last remains of military spirit were buried. A large portion of public and private wealth went to charity and devotion. So what I'm going to do, which document do I want to use and why? Document 2 discusses how Romans no longer wanted to fight in the military, and how Roman Christians spent their money on charity instead of giving it to the Roman government. Now you will do this for each of the other two causes in your thesis. So in my case, I would come up with a topic sentence in paragraph 2 for economic problems. So it could be something like, economic problems also led to the downfall of the Roman Empire. And then you would go back to the documents like we did before and find a document that talks about economic problems and explain what it says related to how it led to the fall. And then for your third paragraph, it will be the third cause that you mentioned in your thesis. So again, in my case, it would be a third cause of the fall of the Roman Empire was the empire grew too large to defend. And then the same thing, you would go back and write which documents you would use. The last part of the outline mentions the closing paragraph. So this would be the fifth paragraph in the essay. The closing paragraph should not include any new information. It should be a summary of information that you've already mentioned. And the last sentence of your closing paragraph is going to be, in this language, the clincher. It's going to be the final takeaway that your reader has, and it's going to tie back into your thesis. So you really want to leave your reader with something to think about. Now, the last part is the essay. So it's 5 paragraphs, so it will follow this outline. You have an introduction, 3 body paragraphs, and then you'll have a closing paragraph. Now, something that I want to mention is how to cite the documents as you're writing. So, for example, if you are going to reference the documents directly, then you would just say something like, document 3 discusses how Christianity took away the Roman military spirit. So you can do a direct reference to a document. Or you can include a direct quote. So if we go back to our document, maybe we want to say, a large portion of public and private wealth was consecrated to the demands of charity and devotion. So we would put it in quotes, and then we would write Doc 3. Or a third way is anytime you are getting information from a document, you need to cite it, whether it is a direct quote or not. So for example, up here, if I'm going to use this, I'll just go ahead and copy this down here. I apologize, that was document 2. I just realized I made that mistake. So it should say document 2. Okay, so Christianity was a cause of the fall of the Roman Empire. And here we're directly referencing it. Document 2 discusses how Romans no longer wanted to fight in the military and how Roman Christians spent their money on charity instead of giving it to the Roman government. If we didn't make a direct reference, we would just talk about how, so if we didn't have this sentence up here, so maybe if we said, as a result of their new Christian faith, Romans no longer wanted to fight in the military. In addition, Roman Christians spent their money on charity instead of giving it to the Roman government. So if we don't make a direct reference, but we're still gathering information from a document, so we need to indicate which document we got that from, we would put in parentheses doc 2. And then you would continue on to your next sentence. So this is the process for writing that, for finishing that one and for writing that 5-paragraph essay.